Return back to the dark side of dimensions. Now make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So this is something interesting that has actually inspired some very interesting discussions recently to those that have figured it out. But the Dark Side of Dimensions movie came out in 2016. Excuse me, 2016? 2026? 10 years it has been since the Dark Side of Dimensions actually touched down. Now, you're probably like, well, Robbie, okay, why is this important? My dear lad, patterns, duelist. Patterns. So, April 2026 is going to mark the 10-year anniversary for the Dark Side of Dimensions movie. That is also a set release month, and you're going to be like, oh no. So, my theory working right now is we're going to be seeing support for the Dark Side of Dimensions decks. Hi, Cubics. How are you guys? So this is what has inspired this. So because January is going to be our next set for Japan, and then we're going to be following it up with what actually should be the start of, I would say, would be the next block of the future of the game. And what better way to start things off than a homage back to a movie on a 10-year reference here, actually giving us the possibility of huge cubic upgrades. Now, my question would be, if we were to want to give upgrades to this, how do we go about this, and how would we shape a set like this? Because I'm not going to necessarily say slapping cubics on the front of a pack is going to have selling point power. That's not necessarily the case, but what there is the possibility of having here is cubic stuff being slotted in as, you know, one of those anime sets. It kind of feels like more recently that when you look at a lot of these sets, there tends to be, you know, something extra thrown in. Now, we are at the stage right now where they've been doing the sub-characters. I'm not going to say like Kaiba's a sub-character, or, you know, Jag Atlas, but, you know, you have the hero. You are looking at the anti-heroes, you know, the villain, well, the villains that go good and they're on your side, you know, more or less like the protagonist BFFs after they hash out some bullshit. But that's not necessarily what the cubic stuff was, though I guess, to be fair, you know, at the end of the story, I guess he did technically become a good guy, but the way that cubics themselves played out, they didn't necessarily, you know, too much. And honestly, cubics are one of those, they're a really weird theme to kind of look at and analyze within the set space. Because one, these were made by Kazuki, or at least they had influence from Kazuki when he worked on this, and unfortunately, you know, he's no longer with us. So I can't really imagine that, you know, they're going to be okay with revisiting a lot of things, but they do continue to reprint the Egyptian gods and a lot of things like that. So I couldn't necessarily be surprised to see you know, we can just make other cubic stuff. That's kind of got to work around this. Now, the only real thing that cubics has had going for it was just their top end. You know, the Reveal 3 cubic monsters throughout the years poop out this incredibly ignorant boss monster, and then you're just like, oh yeah, by the way, burn you for some life points. Adding consistency into that fire might not necessarily be what Konami wants to do, but at this point in time, you know, cubic enjoyers have been asking for new support. They are kind of starved at this point, and I do think they deserve something. Now, the fact that we would be putting this up here as a core set theme could be a little bit ridiculous, but I think it could match a pattern here. Now, there's also the discussion of, well, you know, could Kaiba and Yugi, you know, get something in here? Because you got to remember, Blue Eyes and Dark Magician were effectively cards that did get, the power-ups, but also, Mahad basically was the big finisher of that movie, and his job was just to crush the darkness in a simple sliver of light. I don't necessarily think that we would get too much for them. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe the possibility of them making a combined card against the Cubics, or maybe the Cubics themselves having a card that is attacking and crushing the Dark Magician and Kaiba, or, their monsters, as a reference to that. I mean, it would also be really cool to also pay homage to the Egyptian god, Obelisk the Tormentor in that set. But once again, my question comes down to, is this something that we would shape up as a main set, or would this be something that you would want to dedicate to a side set? Because contrary to what you might believe, the Dark Side of Dimensions sets, all the way back to this day, from those points in time years ago, those cards are actually crazy. The Gold Series prints for those old cards from that set are actually really insane. I believe boxes right now are pushing 300-400 a box. So, I mean, there is something to be had here when you're looking at this old product, because it is gaining some very expensive dividends over time. Now, outside of Kaiba, Yugi, the big guys in Cubics, the only real things that you could really kind of look at, I mean, like, they could hash out like a Magician Girl support card, for example. It's just 10 years. 10 years, people, is an insanely long time to look at this stuff. And they could also go one step further beyond this. If they wanted to do like a special set just dedicated to the movies, we're still missing, Sphinx support. You know how many people want the Sphinx cards to be real cards? Yeah, an insanely large amount of people actually want the Sphinx cards to get new stuff from that old movie. Malefics, interestingly enough, didn't get anything when they were advertising the movie last time for this, but then they gave us, Assault Mode stuff literally about the same time. So I'm not going to say Malefics are off the table right now, but a movie anthology series would be actually a really good idea, Konami. Hey, if you guys are listening right now, this would be a fantastic time to cash in on the old hype around this stuff. There's also always been this rumor going around, 2026, 2027, they're gonna make a new Yu-Gi-Oh movie. And, you can go down the YouTube rabbit hole. I mean, this has been something that's been said for 5-6 years. And at this point in time, I don't really believe it anymore. But it would not be a crazy theory to see, us being grabbed onto here and getting the, oh, shockaroo, maybe there is, something to be had in the realm of, this talk. So, TLDR for this discussion. If you don't have Cubic cards and, you're flaunting around, well, we have a pattern here pointing to the celebration of the movie and celebrating 10 years for it, lining up around a set date. We've seen with them previously, they did things on Jaden's birthday to kind of celebrate that. It is not out of the realm of possibility that we see Konami want to celebrate 10 years of Duel Monsters. They've redone Dark Side of Dimensions how many times within Duel Links and re-shown love back to it. I would not be surprised to see, for the sake of the video games and all of this, that they have to eventually make some sort of support here to, better the advancement of those games, just to make sure that, there is content and things to kind of go forward. So, TLDR? Love the TLDR. I hope you got Cubic cards. That's really all there is to it. So, what kind of madness do you think Konami could pull out on this front? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.